Yesterday was World Environment Day, a day on which the global community could focus on the state of our planet and pose the question, are we looking after it? We don't inherit the planet, we borrow it, not simply for ourselves, but for our kids and their kids, like Sophie here, my granddaughter. How successfully she and other Australian children can fulfil their goals depends increasingly on how we look after our environment and how we best use this planet's natural resources. The greenhouse effect, or global warming, cannot be dismissed as just another environmental problem.
There's another one too.
Yes, love. It has the potential to change fundamentally within a single lifetime the way all nations and people live and work. Care for your planet as you would care for your children. Their tomorrows depend on our actions today.
I grew up in the shadow of a giant. All the reflections shared today reinforce that his greatness was one of a kind. However, his blood is my blood, and his story has become part of my story. When I was 4 years old, I sat by my grandfather's knee in 1989 when he addressed the nation on climate change. It is actually one of my first memories. Having spent my entire professional career working in climate change and sustainability, you could say that that night rubbed off on me. However, it is only in recent years, with the passing of my nan and pop, that I've truly reflected on just how their values have shaped mine and what I carry forward. Of all the things said about Bob these past weeks, there is one story that, to me, speaks to the legacy that is most relevant to the future of Australia, for both what was achieved and what is possible. In 1989, Bob was handed some cabinet papers, requesting Australia's support to open Antarctica to mining. He was horrified. But he was told that years of international negotiations could not be unwound. It was a done deal. Bugger that, he said. Refusing to sign, Bob courted the world with an ideal for something greater, better, and fairer. Enlisting global eco-champion Jacques Cousteau, the Hawke-Keating government determinedly set about changing the world's mind. And they did. In 1991, the Madrid Protocol was executed, making the last great wilderness on Earth a place devoted to peace and to science, protected from exploitation. Now that, folks, is legacy. To me, this tells the greatest of stories. It speaks of Pop's values of fairness and equality, and his love and his faith in the brotherhood of mankind. It speaks of true leadership and his willingness to be unpopular and to listen to unpopular truths. 30 years ago, I sat by his knee and he implored us to take action on climate. These past months, he expressed such great sadness that we have failed to do so. He saw it as a collective failure of our nation that we've traded short-term interests over intergenerational equality. He would say, that the foundations of excuses we cling to are fragile and will inevitably collapse. We must stop delaying the cost of change now, for all we do is load our future citizens with a debt that they cannot repay. Let us listen to the children and young people who parade their courage and conviction, because their tomorrows will be affected by our actions today. Many tributes have been shared today, but truly honouring my grandfather means reflecting on his achievements and applying his values to the future choices we make. Let us take to heart his courage, borrow his optimism, and mirror his love for the brotherhood of humankind. In his twilight years, Pop was at times a gruff old bugger. So I imagine that if he were here today, he would look at me with love and with fierce pride, and with a twinkle in his eye, say in his grumpy old man voice, "Well, get on with it then." So that is my path. It was both his gift to me and my enduring tribute to his legacy. Thank you.
Am I allowed to speak? Thank you, sir. Friends, thank you for coming today to honour the life of a wonderful man. 4 weeks ago, there was a national outpouring of grief when Australia learned Bob Hawke had died. That grief has continued until today. Today, this memorial service marks the transition from the grief of loss to the celebration of a life triumphantly well lived. With today's transformative service, we smile again. We glow with pride for the presence among us for almost 90 years of a great human being. Many organisations and individuals have contributed to this state memorial service, and on your behalf, to them I now give thanks. To the Australian Government for hosting this memorial. To the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet for hours of endless work in helping organise it. To our speakers, the Honourable the Honourable Dr. Craig Emerson, Master of Ceremonies, the Honourable Linda Burney, MP, for her welcome to country. The Honourable Scott Morrison, Prime Minister. The Honourable Anthony Albanese, I almost said Albo. The Honourable Kim Beazley. Kimbo. Miss Sue Peters-Hawke, Bob's daughter, his eldest child. Mr Bill Kelty, wonderful trade unionist. The great Professor Ross Garno, and the magnificent Paul Keating. and of course, our adorable Sophie Taylor-Price, whom you've just heard speak. I also need to thank a number of organisations. First, obviously, the Sydney Opera House, the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, the Sydney Philharmonic Choir, guest performers, Julie Kim, our harpist, Brett Waymark, our conductor, William Barton, didgeridoo, I think that's a bit later to come. To the ABC for their audio-visual presentations today. And finally, to the great, invaluable invisibles, Bob's staff, his office staff. Jill Saunders, Penny Saknikas, Andrew Adams, and 2 volunteer staff members, Sue Peters-Hawke and Sophie Taylor-Price. Bob had friends around the world, but in no country besides Australia did he have more friends than in China. There are 2 here today whom I thank for their love of Bob and their love of Australia, and for travelling from Shanghai just to show their feelings for the Australian they called father. 我谢谢吴神和他的太太，他们热爱 Bob 和热爱澳大利亚，好朋友，好朋友 ，very good friends to us. Thank you for your indulgence of my Mandarin. You have demonstrated Bob's deepest belief, the brotherhood of man. Long live friendship among nations, and beyond all, long live love. Thank you.